Okay, so you want to own a mall, not run a store inside one. Own the whole building, the parking lot, the escalators, the fountain in the middle that hasn't worked since 2009. Here's the picture in your head. Hundreds of stores, thousands of customers a day, rent checks arriving like clockwork. A machine that prints money as long as people keep shopping. Here's the picture in the data. 1,400 enclosed malls in America in the year 2000. 700 today. Cut in half. Not over a century, in 24 years. And the pattern behind it is almost mechanical. As online shopping climbed from 1% of retail sales in 2000 to 17% in 2024, the mall count fell in near-perfect lockstep. Roughly 70 malls gone for every point e-commerce gained. But here's the twist you don't see from the parking lot. The mall down the street from the dead one, doing the exact same thing, is often thriving. Same business, same industry, same country. One is a ghost. One just posted a record year. The question isn't whether malls are dying. Some very clearly are. The question is why some are dying and others are printing more money than ever. And once you understand the answer, you'll understand exactly which side of that split you'd be on if you ever wrote the check. Here's the first thing almost nobody walking through a mall understands. They don't know who they're renting to. Most shoppers assume one owner runs the whole building. In reality, a mall is often a patchwork. The department store buildings, Sears, JCPenney, Macy's, Dillard's, are frequently owned outright by the department store chain itself, on their own parcel, with their own mortgage. The mall operator owns everything in between, the corridors, the food court, the small shops. Two different balance sheets, one roof. That single fact is why a mall can look busy on a Saturday and still be dying. The mall company can currently be paying its bills fine while the anchor next door is quietly planning its exit. And the mall company may not find out until the sign comes down. Now the second illusion, that the industry as a whole is shrinking evenly. It isn't. At the end of 2025, the roughly 1,150 to 1,200 shopping malls still standing in the U.S. broke down almost like a class system. Malls generating over $500 in sales per square foot, Class A, the trophy properties, had a vacancy rate around 5.6%. Basically full. Malls generating $300 to $500 per square foot, Class B, sat at 9% vacancy. And malls under $300 per square foot, Class C, hit 13.3% vacancy, more than double the top tier. One side of the industry is functionally sold out. The other side is hollowing out in real time. Same word, mall, describing two completely different businesses. So say you still want in. Here's the actual sequence of costs, in order. First, the building itself. A regional enclosed mall runs $35 million to $150 million to construct, at roughly $250 to $450 plus per square foot once you account for the mechanical systems an enclosed structure needs. HVAC for climate-controlled corridors, fire suppression across hundreds of thousands of square feet, structural steel for a two-story retail box. That number alone explains something striking. No new enclosed megamall has been built in the United States since 2006. Developers looked at that price tag and simply stopped. Second twist, and this is the one that surprises people. To get financing for that $35 to $150 million building, you need anchor tenants signed before you break ground. Banks won't lend against a mall with no department stores committed. So the anchors have all the leverage, and they use it. Anchor department stores typically pay base rent of just $8 to $15 per square foot. The small shops squeezed between them. The ones actually paying for the building pay $25 to $60 plus per square foot for the exact same real estate. You are subsidizing your biggest tenants to get them to move in at all. Third layer, common area maintenance, or CM. Every tenant reimburses their share of keeping the lights, escalators, and HVAC running, typically $5 to $12 per square foot a year on top of base rent. Fourth layer, percentage rent. Many leases require tenants to hand over an additional 5% to 8% of gross sales above an agreed threshold. The landlord gets a cut of your best months, on top of everything else. Fifth layer, and the one that turns into the actual killer later, co-tenancy clauses. Buried in almost every small shop lease is a clause saying that if an anchor closes, or if overall occupancy drops below a set percentage, the tenant can pay reduced rent or break the lease entirely with no penalty. You've built a $100 million building where your biggest tenants pay the least, your smallest tenants subsidize everything, and a single anchor's decision to leave can legally unravel dozens of other leases at once. So where does the actual money end up? Look at the top of the industry, because that's where the machine runs exactly as designed. Simon Property Group, the largest mall owner in the country, reported $5.96 billion in revenue for 2024, up 5.4% from the year before. Net income, $2.37 billion. Funds from operations, the metric REITs live and die by, $12.99 per share, up from $12.51 the year prior. And here's the number that tells you where the leverage really sits. Simon's base minimum rent across its malls and outlets averaged $58.92 per square foot as of early 2025, climbing 2.4% year over year, even as the broader mall industry bled locations. Compare that to the anchor rent from Step 3, $8 to $15 per square foot. Simon's average tenant is paying 4 to 7 times what a department store pays for equivalent space, and paying more of it every year. Occupancy across Simon's U.S. malls and outlets, 96.5%. Essentially full, in an industry with a national mall vacancy rate near 8.8%. And as we're about to see, that gap didn't happen by accident. The mechanism is straightforward once you see it. Base rent plus CM reimbursement plus percentage rent, collected from hundreds of tenants across a handful of the country's highest traffic properties, compounds into a cash machine. As long as those properties stay full. The moment occupancy drops below the co-tenancy threshold, the same mechanism runs in reverse. Tenants stop paying percentage rent, then reduce base rent, then leave entirely, and NOI collapses in the opposite direction just as fast as it built. It's the same machine either way. The only variable is which side of the vacancy line your property sits on. Now watch what that reverse mechanism looks like on an actual property, anchor by anchor, in order. Rolling Acres Mall opened in Akron, Ohio, on August 6, 1975. At its peak, it carried 5 anchor stores and more than 150 shops under one roof, a genuine regional destination. Then, in order, February 2006. Target closes, relocating to a suburb 20 minutes away. August 2006, Dillard's closes. The following month, September 2006, Kaufman's converts to Macy's, a rebrand meant to signal a fresh start. It doesn't work. March 2008, Macy's closes too, citing poor sales. October 31, 2008, the interior mall shuts down entirely. Only Sears and a JCPenney outlet remain, accessible from separate exterior entrances, technically still open while the mall around them goes dark. For anchors, for separate exits, over 2.5 years. Each one both a symptom of the mall's decline and, through the co-tenancy clauses from Step 3, a direct accelerant of the next one. The ownership tells its own story of decline. In July 2006, the mall sold for $1.6 million, a fraction of its original construction cost. Back taxes to the city of Akron went unpaid starting that same year. Sears held on until around 2010 to 2011. The final holdout, a JCPenney outlet, closed for good on December 31, 2013. For the next several years, the empty structure became what the industry calls a dead mall. Stripped by scrappers, damaged by vandalism, occasionally repurposed in fragments as a storage facility. Ownership passed to the city of Akron in June 2016. Demolition ran in phases from 2016 through 2019. Here's the callback. Rolling Acres opened with a parking lot poured for roughly 6,000 cars. Built for a shopping crowd that, at its peak, actually filled it. On July 22, 2019, the city of Akron confirmed the buyer for the cleared site, Amazon. A 695,000 square foot fulfillment center broke ground that September and opened in November 2020. The mall took 33 years to die, anchor by anchor, lease clause by lease clause. The warehouse that replaced it needed about 18 months to build. Here's the part almost nobody clocks. The split between the winning malls and the dying ones wasn't just market forces sorting things out randomly. In at least one case, it was designed, deliberately, on paper, 7 years in advance. In 2014, Simon Property Group, the company from Step 4, the one posting record revenue, spun off a batch of its lower-tier properties into a separate, newly created company, Washington Prime Group. Roughly 100 shopping centers, many of them in mid-market cities and secondary regions, went into the new entity. Simon kept the trophy assets, the highest traffic, highest sales per square foot malls in the country. Washington Prime went public on its own. It operated independently for 7 years. Then, in June 2021, Washington Prime Group filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. The third mall REIT to do so in about a year, joining CBL and Associates Properties and Pennsylvania Real Estate Investment Trust, both of which had filed in late 2020. While Washington Prime spent its final years trying to convert enclosed corridors into open-air town centers just to keep tenants from leaving, Simon Property Group opened a 338,000 square foot outlet expansion in Tulsa and signed 1,149 new leases across its U.S. portfolio in a single year, 2024. Same parent company, 7 years earlier. One half kept, one half let go. The half that got kept posted a $2.37 billion profit. The half that got spun off didn't survive to see 2022 as an independent company. This is the actual mechanism behind who wins in the mall business. It's not that malls in general are dying, and it's not that ownership in general is thriving. It's that the risk gets sorted deliberately, structurally, often years ahead of the collapse, and the entity doing the sorting keeps the winning half every time. Picture that parking lot in Akron one more time. 6,000 spaces, poured in 1975 for a shopping crowd that actually showed up. Today it holds Amazon delivery vans instead of station wagons. Same asphalt. Same 6,000 spaces, more or less. Different tenant, different math, same land quietly changing hands until it found an owner who could make it pay again. Every mall in this country sits somewhere on that same line, between the version of itself that gets spun off and the version that gets kept. So here's the double question, and there's no clean answer to hand you. If you were the one deciding which 100 properties to keep and which 100 to let go, would you actually be able to tell the difference in year one? Or would you only find out 7 years later, the same way everyone else did?